going on, guys? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another opposition preview. We have Newcastle at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Obviously, the games are coming thick and fast. We have Karl from Newcastle Fans TV to preview the game with us. How you doing, Karl?
Yeah, I'm very, very well, thank you, mate. Pleasure to come on with you guys and talk about potentially getting a result. I'm not too confident about that.
Look, you got one last year, so you can't put anything past you at the moment. And also, you've made some solid signings this summer. You know, Jeff Hendrick, Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, some decent talent coming through the door. Has that tempered the Mike Ashley out brigade, or is it still in full force?
I mean, I've said quite a bit on some recent videos that at some point we need to start giving some credit where it's due. Because yes, we've had a terrible 10, 11 years under him. And yes, he hasn't spent as much money as we'd have liked, but he spent 40 million on Joe Linton last year. It hasn't worked out so far, but he still spent the money. And the business that we've done in this transfer window looks incredible so far. So I think fans are starting to not get on board with him, but be thankful for what's gone on this transfer window, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's still a case for Newcastle of there's steps in the right direction, but it's not exactly like. Would you say it's ambition you're showing, or is it kind of just still is so you maintain that level of kind of mid-table security?
Usually I would say mid-table security, but I wasn't expecting us to go out and sign Callum Wilson for 20 million. I thought if we were going to throw Matt Ritchie in there and maybe get him at 10 million or something like that, I wasn't expecting us to go and throw, what essentially was more than half the budget on him. So I think that does show a bit of ambition. I think it's clear that Mike Ashley does want to sell the club as well. I think it's fair to say that none of this was his fault for once. So I think maybe he's realising, and I thought to myself, with everything that's gone on with lockdown and the way the world's going at the moment, maybe he's had a bit of a sit down and a talk with himself and think, you know what, I need to start paying a bit more attention to the club. I might be overdoing it with that, but as I said, I don't think anyone can be unhappy with the business that has been done so far, and I personally see it as a bit of ambition moving forward. So.
Don't worry, Spurs fans also having the same thought about their chairman as well. About is he really actually going to start splashing cash now in the middle of a pandemic? Can't really believe it. But maybe Mike Ashley's come to the same conclusion. But also, I want to talk about Steve Bruce as well, because obviously it was quite much derided when he first got the job. It was almost like Newcastle fans were all relegating themselves as soon as he got appointed. Obviously, he was a massive step down for Rafa Benitez. No one can deny that. But you got to say, he's done a pretty good job, hasn't he?
Absolutely. I think it's a little bit different, but it's a similar situation in the sense that, Rafa was adored like Poch was at Spurs. Anyone that was stepping in, unless it was Poch, which we thought it was going to be, was never going to be a good acquisition for Newcastle fans. But that, again, being said, we bashed Steve Bruce enough, so credit where it's due. We finished 13th last year. Yes, the football wasn't the prettiest, but it was never the prettiest under Rafa Benitez either, if we're completely honest with ourselves. We had a decent start back from the break, and then maybe didn't finish so strong last season. But like I said, finished 13th. Can't argue with that. We gone and got a decent result. First game of the season against West Ham. Yes, things went Pete Tong against Brighton. But again, Steve Bruce, to be fair to him, has come out and took the brunt of the blame and said that was his fault tactically, which I commend, to be fair, because we were all thinking that anyway. And yes, it was Morecambe, but we've gone and get a 7-0 result and push on in the League Cup. So in the grand scheme of things, I don't see how we can be unhappy, really. I think maybe the fans that are still expecting more from Newcastle are probably asking for a bit too much right now, personally.
And in terms of the game on Sunday, obviously you said you've come off on the back of a 7-0 win of the League Cup, but before that was quite a damaging 3-0 defeat to Brighton. So what are your feelings going to the game? Are you you beat us away last season. We beat you at St James's Park at the back end of last season. Are you kind of confident maybe you can pick up a result here?
It's kind of 50-50, mate. If I go with my head, no. But with my heart, I'm like, yeah. And the only reason that is because we'll play teams that maybe, I'm not saying Brighton are, but sometimes we'll look at teams where we think we should go and get a result there, really. And then we'll come up against you and think we shouldn't get a result there. And it will always end up that we get beat by the team we should be beating. And then we'll end up beating someone like you who we shouldn't even really be having a chance with. So I think if we do, play how we did last year in terms of not playing pretty football, but sitting 10 men behind the ball and maybe looking to nick one on the counter after frustrating you then potentially. But what I've seen from Harry Kane and Son over the last couple of weeks getting back to their best, I'm really worried on Sunday, to be honest. I think we will play better than we did against Brighton, but I expect to come unstuck against a really, really good Premier League side.
Is Alan Saint-Maximin going to be fit?
I've just read about an hour ago that it's looking more likely that he's not going to be fit now.
Okay, because that's quite a big boost for us, because he is definitely, I must say, his dribbling ability is absolutely second to none in the Premier League. His speed is electric, and especially when you got someone like him on the counter attack, because we all know that you're probably going to come put two banks for, but sit quite deep in a low block. That's how Newcastle like to play, especially against the big teams. So having not having Saint-Maximin, it's probably going to be a big help to Spurs. I don't know if you would agree with that.
Absolutely. I think the only kind of saving grace is Ryan Fraser probably hasn't got the pace that Maximin has. I don't think many people would, but we with those signings that we brought in, we have still got a few players that will look to break off. Almiron, for example, he's looked very, very lively. He always does, but he looks even more lively than usual. And then finally having I'd like to say a decent striker up top in Callum Wilson. There are still outlets there, but Maximin's going to be a huge miss, definitely.
So how do you envisage, if Maximin isn't fit, how do you envisage Newcastle lining up?
I think to be honest, from how it's gone in the week, I think we might start with it'll either be a 4-4-2 with Joe Linton and Wilson up top, Fraser out on the left, maybe Miggy out on the right, John Joe and Hayden in the middle, and then probably Lascelles, Fernandez, Manquillo out on the right. I'm not sure about left back at the moment, because I don't think Jamal Lewis will be playing with what happened last week, and I'm not sure if Dummett's ready to come back in yet. So we might struggle, or it could be a 4-5-1, playing Callum Wilson up top on his own, and playing Hayden, Shelby, Hendrick in the middle, something like that.
I can imagine that's going to be quite difficult for us to break down. And you actually do have, as you say, even without Saint-Maximin, with Fraser, Wilson, and potentially Almiron, there's still quite a bit of pace there that could definitely catch us on the break if we're not too careful. But it's just going to have the case of us trying to wear you down, I feel. And I feel like actually it's funny with Spurs, the more possession we have, the more we struggle. That's kind of how I've seen things at the moment. If you actually look at the stats, the top last 5 games where we've had more possession than the opposition, we haven't won. And the past 5 games where we've had less possession than the opposition, we've won. So, and it even goes back to microcosm of our games against Newcastle last year, where at the home game we had like 70% possession and we barely created a thing, and we lost. And the away game we had like 40% possession and we created more chances and we won. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out on Sunday. But where do you think, in your defence, the main weaknesses lie?
Still at left back for me, mate. Still at left back. I think Jamal Lewis moving forward could be a good signing, but again, he looks to be the kind of fullback that's better at attacking than actually defending, if that makes sense. Him and Maximin linked up really well against West Ham. It didn't work against Brighton because they couldn't deal with Lamptey. Maximin kind of got found out in terms of his tracking back. So I think we'll be shored up there with Fraser and maybe Richie, because Richie probably won't bomb on as much, or Dummett, for example. But it's definitely at that left fullback position we're still weak at the moment. I thought, and it really depends on how Jamal Lascelles gets back from last week, because he had a really bad game as well. But definitely left back at the moment, mate. So down that right hand side could be a bit shaky for us.
That's all right for you, because our weakest part of our attack is our right wing. So you should be all right. You should be all right there.
Yeah.
But actually, I wanted to ask you, because obviously a big part of the documentary, one of the blockbuster moments, was Danny Rose speaking to Jose Mourinho, and he was talking about how it was unfair, how he was being treated by Jose. And, he said, like, Jose wasn't giving him a chance. And he was, I don't know if you've seen the clip, obviously, of the confrontation between Mourinho and Rose is quite widely spread. So later in the season. And obviously, you guys didn't take the option to sign him up, and he's still a Tottenham player, and we're looking to get rid of him. He's like, we're pretty much trying to give him away, and no one's taking him. How was he for Newcastle over those few months he was there? And are you surprised that no one's taking a punt on him at the moment?
I think he's again become really, really unlucky because obviously everything that happened with lockdown, it kind of like we didn't see anywhere near enough of him. Jetro Williams was playing well when he first come over, I believe, and then when Danny Rose started factoring into the side once Jetro was injured, he didn't get enough game time. I was really frustrated at Steve Bruce for it because I'm a massive fan of Danny Rose. I mean, I don't know what Spurs fans' opinions are of him now. I'm not sure, but I've always been a huge fan of him, and I'd still take him back now because I don't think he's had a fair crack of the whip. I don't think he's played enough games and enough minutes for us to be able to turn around and say no, we shouldn't have signed him. If we're going to get him back on loan as well, I personally think we still need to. We need to shore up that left back position, and I think we're probably not going to go and spend money on Jetro Williams because of his ACL. And I think Danny Rose is still a fantastic fullback, and I think he would be ideal for us. So I'm quite frustrated that we haven't brought him back, to be honest.
That's interesting, yeah, because Spurs are literally trying to give him away to anyone who would take him, and no one's like at the moment. Only like mid-table teams in Italy are like the most likely clubs are looking for him, and at the moment, Spurs fans have a kind of weird relationship with Rose. Obviously, he was one of the best left backs in the league a couple years ago, but then he had a very bad injury which ruled him out for 6 months, and during that period he kind of started running his mouth off to the sun, and he started talking about how he wasn't getting paid, how much he was worth, and all of a sudden he took his eye off the ball, and he started to concentrate on getting a move and getting more money and getting a bigger contract, rather than because he's had a big injury. It was going to take a lot of effort for him to get back to his best, and he kind of took his eye off the ball and wasn't really concentrating on getting back to his best and more concentrating on other things. And the reality is, for me personally, he never got back to his best, and that's why he's in the situation he is in now. So I think he definitely needs to move away from the club. I was just interested to see how he did for Newcastle, but it sounded like he didn't do that great anyway. But yeah, please take him off us, please.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well, like as Newcastle fans, we've got to be a bit humble in the sense that, like, even if he's still not anywhere near his best, he's not above us. He's not below us as a team, if that makes sense. He's about the level that we need to be looking at, and I think for us, he'd still be a good sign. And it seemed like he wanted to come and play for us as well. I just don't think he was given a fair shot. But I didn't realise about that at Spurs. So if a player is doing that, obviously it's very frustrating. So I can understand why you're trying to ship him off.
Yeah, I think that's the sad reality of the Rose situation. He hasn't even been given a squad number, so he looks like I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen, but no one's taking him. But anyway, what are your score predictions then for the game on Sunday? Big moment.
I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs, mate.
3-1 Spurs. Not that confident then.
No, I mean,
going with your head.
Yeah, I'm going with my head. Unfortunately, I think and I think Son and Kane will definitely get a goal as well.
All right. I will just a quick question before we go. Are you as excited as everyone else to see Bale back in the Premier League? Are you one of those fans who's excited to see how he does?
Yeah, I am. It was because it's like he stopped existing when he went over to Real Madrid, and he left on such a high. And then it was only negative things that we were hearing from Spanish media about his attitude and things like that, and how he thinks he's being mistreated, which I'm sure he probably was, and he's struggled with the language barrier and things. So yeah, I can't wait for him to come back. To be honest, I hope he's at least 75% of where he was at previously. I can't wait to see him play in the Prem.
All right, good man. Well, everyone go check out our preview on Newcastle Fans TV. Link will be in the description below. Obviously, subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV for great Newcastle content. Karl, thank you for coming on the channel. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, mate.
Thank you very much for having me on, Sim. I'll see you Sunday, and hopefully it's the other way around.
Looking forward to it, mate. Nice one. Cheers for coming on.
Take care.